Good morning. It's nice to get that music cranking, get a little uh, get a little energy going as I cough through this beginning. Good morning, Kevin Evans, Corey Haynes, Select is here, Catul is here. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody spent the holiday yesterday doing something fun, spending their day, maybe appreciating Dr. King a little. But it was a surprise holiday for me. I didn't actually realize that Amazon gave us that day off until recently, and so it was a nice surprise to find out that we had that day off. Good morning, Karthik. Boy, everybody's here nice and early today. I like that. So I have a couple of things that I want to get done today, but I have one of the craziest days of all time. I have this until probably 11:30, and then at noon I'm doing office hours on our Amazon Alexa channel. And then I have meetings stacked up from about 1 o'clock till about 9:30 tonight. I have a late meeting for work, and then I also have a conference that I help run called Stir Trek, and our weekly planning meeting is at 8:30 tonight. So it's going to be a long one, and so that's why today's stream is sponsored by Mountain Dew. They have a new flavor called Major Melon that I found, and it is fantastic. Anyway. That's where we're at this morning. We're already deep into the Mountain Dew. Bangalore's sister city is Cleveland. I don't think I realized that, Karthik. That's very cool. Yeah, I wish we had a real sponsor, Mountain Dew. That'd be fantastic. Mountain Dew or Red Bull? I am taking sponsors if you're looking for one. Anyway, as far as LJ is concerned, by the way, did you guys know I could do this? Look at this. Boom. LJ, what a season. Who would have thought? I didn't even realize I could do this until last week. He's talking about the Browns. The Browns had a fantastic football season this year. They did not emerge victorious, but only because of bad referees and cheating. But otherwise, I'm very, very pleased with how the season went, and looking forward to the next one next fall. So that's that. So we're going to get right into this because I've got stuff to do today. We want to get through, and a limited amount of time to do it. And this is, like I said, this is my favorite time of the day, every day, which is why I'm here. I love doing this. I love building stuff, and I certainly love chatting with all of you. There is a separate project that I'm probably going to shift to at some point. I don't know if I'll do it here on stream or if maybe I just build it on my own and we see how it turns out. But I am pretty convinced that I could build a really compelling app. I don't know if it's for mobile, probably not, maybe for web. I don't know. I haven't decided how this is going to be structured yet, but the core concept goes back to baseball cards. I know I've spent some time talking about baseball cards before, but there's a few things, and I've gone on many rants about the idea that I want all the data to be open and available, right? I want as an example, I want all of the images of all of the baseball cards made available by the manufacturer. Maybe it's through an API, maybe it's just images hosted on a server, don't really care. But I want access to all of them. I want to be able to see them and interact with them. But I want to be able to mash all of the data in the world together. And so the app that I want to build is twofold. One is a piece where I did a cool activity on Saturday night. I actually have this here. I can show it to you here. I'll bring up my browser. So on YouTube and Facebook and Periscope, and I think that might be it. I basically broadcast the opening of baseball cards. You can see there I have some packs that are kind of in the distance. There's a box on the right-hand side. I'll open that box at some point during the stream. And people bought all of the teams from me on eBay. And so I sold all of those teams. Kevin Evans was a participant. And what I did is I used my Stream Deck to basically keep track of every card that came out of every pack and who got how many cards. And as you can see, the Yankees are up here at the top. The Angels were fourth. The Angels ended up being first. And then way down here at the end, we have the Rays, but the team that actually lost was Miami, which is right here. So this was a kind of a dynamic leaderboard that was shifting around and playing. But the problem with this setup that I have right now is that I have to manually press a button every time. And it slows me down, and sometimes I forget. I realized looking back that I missed 7 cards. Out of 920 cards that I opened, I missed 7. And so I need to go back and figure out what I'm doing wrong or be more consistent about this. 7 wouldn't have changed the outcome of the process, but it was still good to know that I missed 7. It also is hard because I have to manually think about and interpret each card. So there's 2 pieces to this that I think would be really interesting. The first is I would love to be able to recognize each card. Now, the card manufacturers, they already know what all the cards look like because they designed them. So they have all of that artwork, and they use it digitally in other apps. So I know they have digital versions of all of these images. What I want to be able to do is build what is more or less like a UPC code system. And I want to be able to, when I hold a card up to the camera, for the camera to be able, the software behind the camera, to be able to recognize what card it is. Because the cards are all unique enough looking that I think if you treated them like a barcode or a QR code, that you could probably get away with it. I'd be interested to at least do some training on that and see where we end up. So one is I'd love to be able to identify the card. 2 is there's 2 pieces to this. The first part is I would like to be able to log it like I'm doing with these breaks so that I can say there were 14 Yankee cards and 26 Angels cards or whatever. But I would also like to have a flip mode where I'm actually logging my collection. And so I can actually hold a card up and boom, it adds it to my collection for me. And so I can say, oh, these are all the cards in my collection. Right now I have thousands and thousands of cards all logged into a spreadsheet. And while the spreadsheet is very useful, I had to hand enter every bit of data that's in that spreadsheet in there. So those are all things that I need to figure out. But it starts with being able to recognize a card. The second piece, the more interesting piece to me, is what about an application that was available for anybody? And let's say it's on their phone, so they can have this anywhere they are. But they scan a card with their phone in the app, and it can tell them how much it's worth on a live dynamic basis using the eBay API. This is where I think there's a lot of power and intrigue in this, is you could look at the last 3 months of sales of this card on eBay and say, well, based on what we're seeing, the card you're scanning right now is worth $18 or whatever it might be. I think being able to live scan a card and be able to tell you exactly what the market is paying for it would be unbelievably powerful. And so all of that stuff is floating around in my head, and I really want to build all of this, but I haven't really done much with computer vision before. And so I have a lot to discover. It seems like computer vision is really good at identifying like predefined things. Like if I want to know if a person's in the frame, or a cow, or a pool table, or a television, like it's good at recognizing those kinds of things in a generic sense. I want something that's more like a QR code reader, where I can just like hold up a card and it scans it for me. And it might even take a second to like recognize which one it is. But yeah, I think this is a really cool concept, and I would really like to build that. So that's something I'm going to be toying with too. So we may do days where I just like explore computer vision and play and do whatever. Anyway, that was what my break was. I did this on Saturday night. There's another one coming this Saturday night. So if you're into baseball or baseball cards, or just seeing something cool, all the listings for the teams are available on eBay. And if you want to grab one, they cost like $5. So it's not even super expensive. Yeah, so that's what's going on with breaking. We're not going to spend any more time on that, but I just wanted to mention that. Kevin Evans wants to know, how do I accidentally handle accidental presses? I only had one accidental press in the first stream, and the way I handled it is I just mentally remembered like, oh, I've pressed the Yankees one too many times. And so the next time a Yankee card came up, I just didn't push the button. That was my solution to that. But I don't have like a separate keystroke to like remove the last entry or anything like that. I could always just jump into the database and manually do it, but I have not done that. Okay, so that's the baseball card stuff. Let's get into the data stuff. Let's get into what's going on with our trivia game that we're building. And as those of you that have been here before will recall, we are building a large trivia game. And in that trivia game, we're keeping track of all sorts of stuff. So you can see I have some data here. Let me answer W. Giorgio's question because it's going to consume me. How do you bring that quote from chat to the screen? So the answer to that question, W. Giorgio, is I'm using a tool called StreamYard. StreamYard is just something that uses a camera and a microphone, and then you can stream to platforms, and you can share your screen, but it allows me to bring guests in and do all sorts of other stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm using Streamlabs OBS as the tool that I use to create and compose my scenes. But then it has a virtual camera option, and I'm using the virtual camera from Streamlabs OBS as the camera source for StreamYard. And StreamYard gives me the ability to bring that quote in. So I'm a big fan of StreamYard, and it's giving me a lot of power. I am kind of self-composing a lot of these tools together on my own, so that's the downside. I wish a lot of this stuff just worked automatically, or that I could swing StreamYard into some of the other stuff that I'm doing, but they're all separate tools that do separate things well. And so I just kind of have to pull them all together myself. So that's how I'm doing that, W. Giorgio. And in fact, I have options like branding. You can see these are where I start my videos. So like if I click this countdown video, I won't play the whole thing, but I can just click a video and it starts playing. I can change out backgrounds. I can bring in guests. So as I have, oh, you guys aren't seeing any of this. I'm so sorry. This is what you're supposed to be seeing. So let me try that one more time. Maybe. There we go. So you can see that this is the StreamYard window that I'm working in, and I click a video. This is the video that I clicked a second ago. I know you're getting the infinite parallax, but that's okay. I can change backgrounds. I can change overlays. I can add logos. So like when I was doing this stuff the other night, I can add this logo down here that's Blankenberg Builds. I can just add that here in the corner. It's an overlay that I made. I also have banners. So if I want to say, this is an example of a banner, right? I can pop these things up. These are predefined things that I might add to the screen. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, in fact. So that's that. But I'm really just using it as a way to pull in my video feed, and that's primarily what you're seeing. So we'll get that off the screen again, and I'll bring it back to its home, and we'll do this. So I really like StreamYard, but it costs money to be able to stream to multiple platforms and to do multiple streams. But it's not expensive, but it does cost some money. I just want to prepare you for that. Okay. So now we're getting into talking about our actual data. And you can see that last week we asked ourselves a few questions and we got our correct percentage. So we're getting science questions right 75% of the time. We're getting sports questions right 100% of the time. If we look at our question instance table, you can see those records here. We can see exactly when the user got the questions right. And we have two different kinds of wrong answers. We have when they said something and it was the wrong answer, or when they abandoned the question, and that's where we have nothing recorded here. I have considered streaming on YouTube. In fact, Karthik, the breaking thing, the card breaking thing that I did that on YouTube primarily. The problem I have is that I really like Twitch as a platform. It's got the right kind of people. I think it's an engaging place. I have streamed occasionally on YouTube at the same time. The problem is that Twitch has some rules that you can't stream to both places. And so because I'm a part of the live coders here on Twitch, and it's a nice community of people, I feel like going to YouTube only kind of defeats that purpose. I like being a part of the Twitch community. So that's why I continue to stay here. I wonder, though, what the audience growth and engagement would be like if I was just on YouTube. I might find people that I wouldn't otherwise. But I have simulcast on YouTube a couple of times, but it's technically against the rules on Twitch, so I try to stay away from that. Okay, so many great questions. I love chatting with you guys. All right, so we have our questions. We have this question database. One of the things that I wanted to do for myself, this is actually a interaction that we would build for this skill that is different. It's not something that we would use. It wouldn't go to production. This is something we would actually remove before we published it. But it would be the ability to ask a very specific question. So if we wanted to test something out or see how it renders on the screen or whatever, this interaction would allow us to do that. And if we remember way back, if we go back to our old version of this database that I created, which is way up here somewhere, in my question table, I had this numbering system. And when I first looked at it, I could not remember for the life of me why I had, where is it? Is it in, no, it's not in category. Where did that question go? That's the order number, but I thought question, here, let's see, we have two hidden fields. Oh, it's right here. I hit it. So you can see here that I have these questions numbered from 1 to whatever in their categories. So if we look at the first category here, art and stage, I have questions 1 to 49. This gives me the ability to say, hey, give me this specific question. I just say, like, give me art and stage 49, and it would give me that very specific question. I don't think I actually need something this complicated, though. What I'd like to do instead is we're going to take a journey back to the actual database we're using right now. And what we're going to do is add a field to this table. We'll do it right here. And this field is going to be auto number. We'll call this number. Number is fine. You can see that it's just going to auto number them from 1 to whatever. And these are in no specific order. Actually, I'm going to customize this field type. Let's just make it a number for a second. An integer. And I actually didn't auto number these the right way. I don't think it really matters that much, but I'm going to do this. Delete all of those. And let's sort these properly. So I have it sorted by ask count. That's not what I want. I want to sort these the right way. Now, the numbering going forward as I add more questions will still be broken, but I think that's okay. At least initially, I'd like these to look a little clean. So I want to sort by category first. And then, well, that's really it. I guess that's all I really need. So then we'll change this back to an auto number field. And like so, we now have auto numbering from 1 to whatever, down to 445 or whatever, 455. So if I add another question, that'll be auto numbered, but that gives me a unique easy to remember number. Oh my gosh, Copper Beardy with a 10-person raid. Hello, Copper Beardy. W. Giorgio said, funny thing, I had to sign up for a paid Airtable. Let's see this. Paid Airtable mainly because of Alexa QC taking up data, but still pretty cool. Did W. Giorgio, I'm very curious to know, did they make you pay, or did you just choose to pay because you'd exceeded the limit? I'm always curious how people handle that. I love a good raid. Welcome, everybody. We are here building an Alexa skill that is a giant trivia game. Copper Beardy, things are going well. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. We are building a trivia game. And so what we're looking at right now is my database of questions. Oh, we got a follow from Ryan Hawkins. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You chose to pay. So what I found, W. Giorgio, is that they don't, I've exceeded the limits by a lot. What I'm not hitting is any of their limits on like API calls, any limits like that where I feel like I'm overtaxing their stuff. It's just a storage limit that I've hit. And I think once I went to production, I would probably pay because I wouldn't want them to shut it off. But as I'm developing, if I exceed limits, I haven't worried about that yet. I'm sure that I will. And I'm not somebody to try to steal software. But I feel like as I'm just getting things set up and rolling, I'm not ready to pay for that yet, but I am more than happy to pay for Airtable when I have skills in production. I think that makes a lot of sense. I also wish that they had some other pricing models. I would rather just have a monthly unlimited number of database segments, and they make you pay per the base, basically, which I don't necessarily love. $120 for the year is very reasonable, right? $10 a month, very manageable. Well, thank you, Copper Beardy, for bringing your gang over here, all 10 of you. I do appreciate it, and I'm glad you guys are here. Drop a follow. We're here every morning from 10 to noon for the most part. Sometimes we end a little early. But we're always here building cool stuff, thinking about voice and conversation and chatbots and whatever else comes to mind. Lots of AI is coming. Machine learning is going to be something we spend some time on as we dive deeper into this baseball card world I'm playing in. But anyway, we've got our data. We have unique numbering. So what I want to do is build an interaction model element that allows me to say, give me question 422, so that as I'm building out my questions and I want to test a specific question, it becomes very easy to do so. So first step, we got to jump into our interaction model. And you can see in here that we have a answer intent and we have a question intent. So we're going to create a new one. Because this is not going to live on forever, I'm going to call this specific question intent. And we're going to create a totally separate intent for this because I don't want any overlap and I don't want it to live on forever. This is actually going to be only used for testing and identifying things. So when we go to production, we won't have this intent in there. And so in this case, I'm going to say, give me number. So I'll do something like that. Give me number 47. Give me number 552. Because this is only for me too, I don't need to be very fancy about how I think about this for people. And we're just going to say it's Amazon.number. That's going to be the format for this slot. If I can find it. There it is. So we're good. So I've built my interaction model to add this. So we'll save and build that. And anytime that I make a change to this, I always like to go into the JSON editor and just copy this down locally. I'm not using the one here locally, but when I do publish, I don't want to overwrite everything. So it's always a good idea to bring that stuff down also. And while we're building, the other thing that I can do is an evaluation here. I could say, give me number 12. What it shows me here is that it's hitting the specific question intent. The slot value question is getting the value 12, and that's what's going to get passed through to my skill. So this is a quick, easy way for me to be able to see that, yes, it's doing what I want it to do, and I'm getting the value that I need. So now we're going to go build the functionality behind that. So to do that, the first step, we always start at the beginning, is index.js. I need to add a new handler for that intent that we just created. So I need to be able to think, how am I going to get the user from what they said? And the user in this case just happens to be me. But how am I going to get that value down to my code, and then how am I going to be able to push that information into my database and get what I need? So This was called specific question intent. Thanks, Karthik. Thanks for coming by, man. Always good to see you. So we have specific. We have we'll use the stop intent, and we'll just come right here, and we're going to say specific question intent handler, and that'll be, whoa, let's not do that. Copy that, and we're going to come down here to the bottom and add it to our list. That can be like here. Okay, and then if we look at that, we got to actually do some work with it. So this is going to be the specific question. Oh, you can tell I haven't typed much all weekend. Question intent, and then this is going to be handlers.specific question intent. All right, so we have our base structure. We have specific question intent handler. It's looking for that specific question intent. Now we need to write some code to actually handle that. So we'll go into our handlers, and we'll create a new file first. We're going to call this specific question intent. And in here, we're going to have an async function. And in here, all we're really passing it is a number, right? A number, that's all we care about. Seems like it. So we'll call it question number. I think that's all I need because I don't really care about users or anything. This isn't getting used for any of that kind of stuff. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to do a module.exports, and that's where a specific question intent will be exported. Okay, so then we need our index file. Let's take this. Makes life much easier when you copy that. We'll do this, and we have specific question intent equals require question intent. Another follow from OG with Uzi. Thank you for the follow. Glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in. We're here every day building the things. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you've joined us, and hopefully we'll see you regularly around here. Please, if you'd like, I'd love to know more about you. Introduce yourself here in the chat. Anybody here that's new, I love to know what people are doing, what they're building, what they like, what they don't like. If they hate my face, let me know. I take criticism pretty well, and I'm always looking for feedback on how to get better. So if you have ideas on things you'd like to see, share it with me. I'd love to hear. Okay, so I think all the specific question intent rigging is there. The thing we don't have is we're not returning any speech yet. That's the piece that we really need. So there's a couple of pieces to this. We have get random question, but what we need now is like a get specific question because that's what we're going to do. So Dana Voice, I've been trying to reach you to ask some questions. Hey, Dana Voice. I like answering questions. Are these questions you want me to answer on stream, or are these just like personal, you want to have a discussion with me? I'm down for either. But got to get some of that sweet, sweet caffeine in my body. Also, for those of you that have been following my dietary progress, this morning I'm down 38 pounds. This is Mountain Dew Diet Sugar, or no sugar, zero sugar. But it's watermelon flavored. It's actually really good. It's like it tastes a lot like a watermelon Jolly Rancher. It's not as sour. It's a soda, but it's good, and it gets the caffeine in my body that it dearly needs. OG with Uzi is a data scientist, ironically, working on Cortana. Hope there won't be rivalry. Not at all, man. Let's talk Google, Cortana, Bixby, you name it. I'm in. I'm about voice. Now, I work on the Alexa team. So obviously I have an affinity for Alexa, but I'm not opposed to, like, I like other assistants. I think it's great that stuff exists. I've got, here, listen to this. Okay, Google, what time is it? Maybe. It's thinking about it. I have one of the OG.
It's 10:26 a.m.
There you are.
And by the way, if you're ever feeling curious about other ways I can help, just ask. What can you do?
Will do. So yeah, I've got a Google Home setting up here. I've played with Cortana plenty. I have a long history with Cortana. I actually used to work at Microsoft as well, OG. Yeah, I'm way into voice. I think that this is the future, and I'm really looking forward to seeing We're 5 years into this adventure. I'm very well of the like digital assistant kind of voice. Voice has been around for a long time, but I'm very interested to see where the next 5 years will lead us. And I hope that I get to help participate in that process. So I'm going to get to Dana's question in just a second. In the meantime, I'm going to answer OG's question, which is, what am I building? So I can give you a quick little recap. Let me spin up my code. We can take a look at this. The base idea behind this skill, if we come to my testing, let's do one of these. Give you a little background on how this works. So I'm calling it Jeff's Trivia Game right now. It will ultimately be called TKO Trivia. TKO is a boxing term for knocking people out, but it's just kind of a cool name. So I'm using that as the name of the skill eventually, but we're calling it Jeff's Trivia Game because I actually have other versions of this skill built, and I don't want interaction name, invocation name conflicts and stuff like that. Anyway, we open the game and it sounds like this. We're working. We're going.
Welcome to TKO Trivia, the trivia game show where you answer difficult questions and win nothing.
Now, this will eventually be in Brian's voice. I had some code written to do that, but it was causing me some issues, so I have to go back and revisit that. But it's a trivia game show. So every day there will be a daily game where you can come in and answer 10 questions. But it's hard. The questions are not easy. And if you get a question wrong, you're done. So you don't get to answer all 10 questions. You only get to answer the questions that you got right. So if you get them all right, that's quite remarkable. You got all 10 questions in a row. But then after that day, those 10 questions end up in the general pool. And then you can come in and play just a random pickup game, or you could just ask a random question. So I could say, like, just give me a science question, right? And it'll come in, grab from my database, pick a science question out. I have sound effects, all the things.
Here is a question from the science category. What is the most malleable of all metals, such that a single gram can be beaten into a sheet of 1 square meter?
We've got a little music for you to think about it for a little bit. All of that stuff kind of plays together. And again, with Brian's voice, I think this sounds better. I've just turned that off temporarily. But we'll be adding more sound effects and things like that. So hopefully, OG, that gives you kind of a background on what we're building. But it's basically...
Okay. What is your answer?
And then she pops in after the music to say, okay, what's your answer? So that is... Let's jump into Dana's question now. I'm not using APLA yet right now. W. Giorgio, I think I will be. Right now, we're just piecing some things together. Then we're really going to focus in on what the voice experience sounds like. And that will be far more interesting than what we're doing right now. Okay, Dana, you get your question on the screen because it's so long. So it looks like this. I'm trying to put together something on conversations and context, meaning asking a question and having a context available. Where is Joe Biden from? What is the temperature there? Allie knows, I think you meant Alexa, but Allie is a good way to refer to it. Allie knows you mean the temperature in Scranton. Okay, so yes, I agree with all of that. I'd love to know, can I just get I have no knowledge, or yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about this. As far as the actual Alexa engine goes, I don't have any inside knowledge on how they're actually managing and handling the context and knowledge graph. I don't have a lot of visibility into that. I do know how I would do it, which isn't terribly hard. I'm doing a lot of that actually with this trivia game right here. So give me some clarification, Dana, on what you mean. But I'm happy to have discussions like this. Is there someone who would talk to me about it? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how proprietary or secretive they are about that stuff, but let's do this. I have no shame in sharing my contact information. That is my email address. If you want to shoot me an email and we can talk about this offline, I'd be happy to try and connect you with the right person, see if they can have that discussion. But I've got to get your background too and make sure that we're all operating above board here, and make sure we're not doing anything that would cause my team or my colleagues any strife. So yeah, let's talk about it though. I think that's a good conversation to have. And if you guys didn't know that, these are some of the cool things that you don't always realize. But here, I'll do a quick demonstration of that. Alexa, who is Joe Biden?
According to Wikipedia, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is an American politician who is the president-elect of the United States. Biden defeated
Alexa,
incumbent president.
Where does Joe Biden live?
According to Wikipedia, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is an American politician who is the president-elect of the United States.
Alexa,
Biden defeat.
Where does Joe Biden live? And did I say where he's from? She doesn't seem to like that at all. Alexa, where is Joe Biden from?
Joe Biden was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Alexa, what's the weather today there?
In Westerville, it's 28 degrees Fahrenheit,
Alexa,
mostly cloudy sky.
Where is Joe Biden from?
Joe Biden was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Alexa, what's the weather there today?
Right now in Scranton, Pennsylvania, it's 34 degrees Fahrenheit with cloudy skies. Today's forecast
Alexa,
has snow flurries.
Stop. All right. So that's the example that Dana Voice is referring to, is that I didn't have to tell it Joe Biden the second time. Coding Bandit with a subscription. My goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you. So the whole point is that I don't have to keep asking about Joe Biden, or I didn't even have to say Scranton as part of my conversation, right? Because those things are inferred and knowledge, and part of the knowledge that Alexa has as the context of what you're talking about. And so Dana wants to know, like, how does that work behind the scenes? I know that there's a knowledge graph that sits behind it, but what I don't know is how they hold on to, or what level exists, or how long it's handled. But an email would be great. So feel free to reach out. And that goes for any of you. I have this website. Let's see if I can do. I have this website also. I think that's clickable. Make sure it works. Yeah. And this is a place where you can find all sorts of stuff about me. So if you're looking for how to connect with me somewhere, that Linktree link is a great way to do that. But I don't mind handing out my email address. I can always block you if you tend to get annoying or obnoxious about it. But in general, people are very respectful and good about treating my data. So I don't mind sharing my email address. So that's that. If you guys have questions about Alexa or how to get started or whatever, and you'd rather have it as a private conversation, shoot me an email. I don't recommend sending me an email. The Amazon email ecosystem is like a waterfall. And so I can only hope that I pluck your message out of the stream. But honestly, if you send me a DM on Twitter or here on Twitch, I read those. I keep up with them. Anybody that's here that has messaged me before, I'm pretty responsive. I like talking to people. I like engaging. And if you have enthusiasm for something, I have enthusiasm for it. So I like people that are passionate and excited about doing stuff. And I would love to encourage you to do that as well. So just so it's up on the screen for all of you, there is my email address. Anyway, so follow up with that if you'd like. But honestly, Twitter, Twitch, whatever, happy to chat with you in any of those places. Okay, so we have this entire question ecosystem. But what I wanted to get back to is the idea that I could ask my individual skill to give me a specific question. And that's where we were working here. So we have a question number that we're going to pass in. No, we don't. I'm lying. What we do have, if we look at our index file, is that we're going to pass in the handler input. So what we really have is the handler input here. That is the data that comes from Alexa that lets me know what the user said and how we can use that information effectively. So the first piece that I need, and I do this every time, is I need a different piece where I have those two. Those two are going to become handy right here. I don't even know that I need the data one, but I definitely need the helper one. My first step is going to be to get the number, const question number. This is going to be helper get spoken words. I'm passing in the handler input, and I'm passing in the name of the slot that I want. And in this case, the slot name is question. So what this is going to get me is the number that the user spoke. And so let's take a look at that in the real world example. So we come to our testing tool, and we say, give me number 23. Now this is going to fail. We're going to get an
There
error.
is a problem with the requested skills
That's
response.
totally fine. What I want to see, what? You're just fine. Okay, fine. We'll fix it first, and then I'll see the data I want to see. So we have this question number, but what we really need to do is just have one of these down here at the bottom. So we'll do this. Speak output equals, this is the specific question intent. Great, and then we don't need this directive. Great, great, great. Let's refresh that, get our skill running properly, and then we should be able to say, start the skill, give me the skill, give me the question.
This is TKO trivia.
Cool. Maybe?
This is the specific question intent.
There we go. That's kind of what I expected. So down here, what we can see is that we have slots, we have question, and then down here I have a value that is 23. And what's awesome about this is it's the actual number. It's not the words that I spoke. It's not a spelling of the word. It's the actual value, which is really cool. OG wants to know, you would have a separate actor for every specific task and scales really well. Reactive programming for Alexa. Oh, that's interesting. So you're asking if I've set up specific actors. Well, it's weird. Like I think that makes more sense when I'm talking about like fundamental first-party experiences on Alexa. But for the stuff that I'm doing right here, this is a third-party skill, and so I'm just I'm a little more limited in how I can handle some of that stuff. But breaking each individual task off into its own actor seems like a problem I would want to solve when I have a volume of users. But with the way that this is running on AWS Lambda, which is just serverless, right? And in that environment, it scales remarkably well. So I haven't seen the need to break things off for the worry about scale. I think if I was running a more static application, maybe something that's sitting on a server, I can see where the actor model starts to make more sense. But I think for the things that I'm doing, which is just a simple Lambda function running node, I've been quite surprised by how it handles scale, even at a high volume of concurrent users. So the short answer to your question, OG, is no, I have not tried that, but I haven't found the need for it, I guess, specifically just yet. Okay. We'll hope that maybe this trivia game will blow up and I'll be like, man, I wish OG had talked me into this sooner. I wish I had a better scale model, but so far it feels pretty good. Okay, so slots question value is 23. So that's the number that we're getting in our code. That's the number that we're pulling in right here with get spoken words for question number. So what I need to do is get the question that we want. And so to do that, if you look at like question intent, what we do here is we resolve the category that the user wants, and then we actually call out to the database here to get a random question from that category. So we're going to do the same thing. The difference here, certainly, Dana, go enjoy your tennis, and we will talk a bit later. So here I'm calling out to get a random question from a category. This time what I want to do is get a very specific question. And so with that, we're going to use something like this. I'll take this piece, and we're going to do this. And this instead is going to be get specific question. Instead of a category ID, we're going to have a question number. And that question number tells us which question we want. So that should be the only real specific information that we need. But we're going to call out to get that question, and then we'll do some things to speak output to put that question into our speech and return it back to the user. Okay, so with that, the next step is to build a get specific question function, and that's in our data module. So in here, we're going to do get specific question.js. And in here, we could probably use get random question very closely. That's very, very similar. I'm only bringing back one record, not many. So get specific question. Like this, where this will be specific. And this will be specific. And here, what we should be able to do is, I can still leave this. I don't really need to run the random record. And if we look at how we do question in, where did that go? Question intent. When we do this here, we are still, I look at how I refer to question.fields.record. So it is pulling out just one element, so I'm not expecting an array. And I think that would be nice to do here. So what I'm really going to allow this bit here, if I go back to my get specific question, this normally would just get a random item. We're only going to get one item back, but it's still going to be returned from the database as an array. So I'm going to leave this piece in here so that it grabs that array, which happens to only have one element in it, and pulls it out of the array and just returns the object, simplifying my life and making it more consistent for how I interact with other things. So that's getting my random item, and then I'm returning the item. So this all works. The only piece that I really need is I'm looking in question, and my filter by formula is just going to change a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the is disabled because I'm the only one that uses this, and I may want to test a question that is currently disabled. So I don't want that to limit me. I don't care about a category ID. And I don't care about the locale because I just want a very specific question. So I don't want any of these things to limit me. So what we end up with is a formula that just looks like that. And where I'm going to change this a little bit, we have another one where we actually get this speech type like this. This is what I really want. Speech type equals speech type like that. So we'll come in to get specific question, and our and condition is just going to be this, except speech type is going to be number. And this is going to be the value that we pass in, which is question number. I don't want any of the other limitations on my query. So question number is the only value that we're passing in. And here, this is going to be question number. Now, for safety, I'm leaving my encode URI component, but I know I'm passing just integers, so it shouldn't be an issue, but it never hurts to encode that stuff just to make sure. And that gets me a nice, clean response for getting a specific question. Okay. So now we should be getting our question back. Now we need to do some things with it. So our speak output probably should all be the same, right? If we think about how our question intent works, we have the question. We have a few pieces we stitch together: the category introduction, the sound effect, the question speech, hold timer, and answer prompt. There's a couple of pieces to this that are going to be interesting, because I do want to be able to answer the question. I want to be able to go through that process, but I don't necessarily care about the category introduction or the sound effect. How do we get those today? I just say, here's a question for the category name. So that's going to be its own function, but we don't know the category name yet, because all we have is the number of the question. Yeah, select. I didn't have time. I was at my chiropractor this morning, and so I didn't have time to get everything set up, get the casino running. So it's not started. It's fine. The code is, everything's there. It's just the service isn't running right now, and I didn't have time to set it up. So we'll get that running tomorrow to get the casino back. So I have a category name here. When I think about the data that gets pulled back from the service, I think all that I get is the question instance ID. Not even that. Yeah, I don't think that I'll have that information. I don't think it's necessary, again, for the fun. Like, this is a function that I'm only using. It's not for the public. So I think I can probably just do, I can make this a little more rugged. So speak output is going to equal question.fields dot whatever I call the field in the database, which is voice question. Is this going to work okay? I want to be able to hear and see the question, but I also want to be able to hear and see the answer. So I think this is probably fine. I don't need to get terribly fancy with this. It's making me think about how the things that are running through my head right now, which I'm never good at sharing, are when I think about putting something on the screen, which we haven't even gotten to yet. But when I think about putting something on the screen, I want to see what the question will look like on the screen. I want to be able to test that and visualize what each individual question looks like. And when I do that, I won't see that here, and I won't have the category name to do so. So it would look different when I do it this way. So that makes me feel like the way I'm actually doing this, if I look at the actual question intent, this has the assumption that I'm getting a random question, right? Right here, I call out and get a random question. But I wonder if I couldn't simplify this so that this question intent, the real question intent the user uses, only gets me the random question. All it does is gets me this data. And then everything else is actually funneled off to a specific question function where now I can say, here, go use this question. This is the one that I want to use. That's a very interesting concept. Basically creating a worker engine to generate all of my stuff for a question, because this question intent is fine, and almost always there's going to be a situation in which I'm randomly picking a question for the user. They don't often get to pick what question they want, if ever. But I also have scenarios like daily games where I have already pre-picked the 10 questions that they're going to get. And so I don't even really need to go to the database to get a question, because I technically already know what the next number is going to be. I feel like I'm pre-optimizing here, which is why I'm not going to do anything. But this is on my mind. This is something that's going to stand out to me later as a thing we need to do. And I feel like it makes a lot of sense when I'm crafting the question experience to have one unified place that generates the on-screen stuff, the speech stuff, whatever, and then all I'm doing is handing it a question ID, and then I don't have to concern myself with how that question ID came to be. It'll just be, go do this question, and then it just does the question. It doesn't matter whether I got it randomly or whatever. Those two concepts are now separated from one another. That feels right to me. That feels like the right decision here. For now, I'm not going to worry about it, but I think that's something that's going to come. So I'm going to leave myself a little note. No, not two. But just, where did my cursor go? We'll do this. We should extract everything that constructs a question experience into its own function. I have a note there to remind myself to do this stuff. Good morning, Startup. Good morning. Good to see you. I thought I saw Gold Zulu pop in here a little bit as well. I don't know if I saw his name or not. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm glad everybody's here. It's always good to see everyone. It is 10:51. I have to end by 11:30 because I'm doing Alexa office hours on the Alexa channel at noon, and I've got to get something to eat and get into that, because I've got, as I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, I've got meetings from now until 9:30 p.m. Eastern, which is too long. This is going to be a sucky day. But that's how my day looks today. So we have our specific question. We have our voice question here. This should be sufficient for us to ask that question. It doesn't give me all the experiences I need, and we're going to have to think about, I'll do it here too. Unify the question asking. I think this is going to be our job for tomorrow. I'm already convincing myself of it. Into one consistent function. Okay. So, but this should work for now. This should at least give me my specific question. So let's go pick one out of the database that we want to use, something we haven't done before. Question 429 is about the TV show Firefly. So let's use that as our example. We'll come to our testing console, and I should be able to say, give me number 429. I think this will work. Maybe.
Something is definitely very broken. If only I could fix it myself.
Okay.
Sorry for the inconvenience. I've notified our developers. Let's start over. What would you like to do now?
Okay, you can see here that I got the right number, 429. That's the number we wanted here, 429. So the good news is it's the Alexa part isn't broken. It's my code that's broken, and that's a thing that happens sometimes. So let's see what the error is. Data.getSpecificQuestion is not a function. Well, yeah, you gotta add these things. We need a getSpecificQuestion equals require getSpecificQuestion. And then we need to take this down here, getSpecificQuestion. Now maybe it'll work. Now maybe if I did all the work that I was supposed to do. I get very distracted talking to all of you. Hey, Chris, good morning. Holla to you. I love talking with all of you, but sometimes like my brain gets a little rattled in chatting. Okay, try this again.
What series gained a cult following after its abrupt cancellation, which led to the feature film Serenity?
The answer is Firefly, but that's really great. That gets me what I need. So there's a few things that I really want to do here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to solve this problem because I am not an APL master by any means. But if we come in here and we go to Tools, no, Multimodal Responses. In here, I can go to Visual, and I can create a visual response, and this is just APL layout tool. But what I want to do is something kind of like this one. Kind of. And so we could take all of this APL and we could put our question on the screen. Now, we're not going to do this yet. I've got some things that I need to figure out before I'm ready to do that. But ultimately, we'll be taking some APL, which looks like this. It's just some JSON. But you can see that I'm putting the individual items in there that I need. We have all this layout, and then we also have some data. So we have like the images they're using. You can see the word did you know is right here. But when we look at the APL, what we're actually pulling in is somewhere, this title right here. This is the header title. So if I change this, if I just rip out the value and instead say Blankenberg, you can see that I'm changing that header title, right? So it's a nice visual way for me to interact with my Alexa skills visually. And I can use this JSON here in my application to provide visuals when I want to. And so we'll be doing something very similar to this eventually. But this will be part of, maybe we spend a little time on this tomorrow just to build an initial version of it. But I think tomorrow is going to be us kind of unifying the question asking engine so that we're not only putting all of these pieces together, right? The category sound effect, the category name, the question itself, the timer, lots and lots of pieces like that. I'm in talk shows again. See, here's the thing, Major Lift. It's not that I'm forgetting. It's that something's changing it for me, and I don't know why. I don't know what changes it. But it is back again. Major Lift, I'm doing this only so that you'll show up every day and remind me. I want more of your time and attention. I really wish I knew why it was doing that. I've got to solve it. It's got to be a StreamYard thing. It's almost certainly got to be a StreamYard thing because I have everything set up in my Stream Manager. I go in and change it every time to be the right group. You're forgetting to change it back after you go live, though. Yeah, I know, but the problem I have is that I just want to solve it permanently. I don't want to like that can't be something I do every time I go live. I guess it is something I could do. I just don't, maybe I don't want to. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate your reminders. You are a true champion of mine, and I appreciate it. Okay, let's keep it moving here. So we talked about APL. We're not going to do any APL, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about the fact that we're thinking about it. We have this working. So now I can at least bring up any question I want. And I can hear how it sounds and play with it a little bit, right? So if we come back here to this, I can say, give me question 429.
What series gained a cult following after its abrupt cancellation, which led to the feature film Serenity?
So here's a good example. As I listen to that, I want a comma. I want a little brief pause after the word cancellation. So I just come into my database. I find the text. I drop a comma. And then we try it again.
What series gained a cult following after its abrupt cancellation, which led to the feature film Serenity?
And there we go. Now it sounds with the cadence that I want that question to be asked. What's nice about this then is that I don't have to be constantly, I mean, another way to solve this is I could take my content here, copy it. I could come to the dev console, go to voice and tone, get rid of all this, paste my thing in here and do the same thing.
What series gained a cult following after its abrupt cancellation, which led to the feature film Serenity?
But then I'm copying and pasting stuff into this box. This way, the testing model that we've just created gives us the ability to test it from devices, from all sorts of things. So I could say, Alexa, open TKO trivia. Oh, I forgot. Alexa,
welcome to TKO.
Stop. Alexa, stop. Okay. Alexa, open Jeff's trivia game.
I have to return some videotapes.
Alexa, open Jeff's trivia game.
Oops. It looks like one of our programmers broke something. I will let them know and have them fix it as soon as possible. In the meantime, you can always ask for a random question or start a new quiz, right?
Let's try this again. Alexa, stop.
Be sweet, parakeet.
Alexa, quit. Okay, that's the piece I didn't do. Alexa, open Jeff's trivia game.
Welcome to TKO Trivia.
Give me number 429.
What series gained a cult following after its abrupt cancellation, which led to the feature film Serenity?
Okay, so you can see that I'm still able to pull these things in. I could say, Alexa, give me number 425. Maybe.
Oops. It looks like one of our programmers broke something.
Really?
I will let them know and have them fix it as soon as possible. In the meantime, you can always ask for a random question or start a new quiz, right?
Cannot read property ID of undefined in code that isn't mine. That's great. It's good. That's what I like.
Something is definitely very broken. If only I could fix it myself.
Alexa,
sorry for...
Stop. So definitely having a couple of issues, but nothing...
I'm already looking forward to our next meeting.
Thank you. Goodbye. Okay. But I'm able to pull that question in, which means I can interact and test it as I'm going through this. So how far do I want? I've got a half an hour left max. How far do I want to take this? How far do we want to go? We have specific question intent. I suppose I could build the stuff out here and then just get question intent to interpret it or to interact with it as well. So the thing that I really need is the... No, I have the question. Here, let's do this. Let's take a look at console log. Let's take a good look at what I'm actually getting back, and see if we can get a better feel for what we can really do with this. So we come back here and we say, come on, give me number 429.
What series gained a cult following after its abrupt cancellation, which led to the feature film Serenity?
Cool. And we have nothing. Why do I have no console logging? That shouldn't be R. It should be... Why do I not see question? Records. I mean, this is my question here, but... Oh, interesting. Okay, so I have the category name and the category ID in an array. So I could look that stuff up. I only have the locale as a unique identifier. That's not fantastic, but that's okay. I'm just wondering if I... Hey, Screechrat, welcome. I'm wondering if I need to... Do I have enough data if I just pull back the question? Oh, thank you for the subscription, man. Much appreciated. My last attempt to open the trivia game got his Alexa. My goodness, Stream Being is here. C# Fritz is bringing 136 people in. Are you kidding me? Welcome to C# Fritz and the crew over at his channel. We're doing some cool stuff today. We're building a trivia game for Alexa. Rick Bosch, hello. High Tech K is here. Dev Lead. My goodness, look at all the people piling in here. M. Pulowski. Welcome to all of our raiders. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are in the process right now. You Got Sponged is now following. Man, you guys are great. C# Fritz and the folks over on his channel. If you guys aren't tuning into that, he's building this cool thing called Clip Talk, which is basically taking all the clips that we get created here on Twitch, and all of them are being aggregated into a website, so you can go watch other people's clips and stuff. Super, super cool. But for all of you that are here, thank you for joining. We're building a trivia game for Alexa. Asheroth86 is here. My goodness. I love a good follow train. This is great. Everybody click the follow button. Why not? Much appreciated. We are building a trivia game for Alexa where people can come in and they can basically play a daily trivia game. So you come in, you get 10 questions. They come from a random set of categories. What's tricky about it is that those 10 questions are hard. Look at all the followers. You guys are the best. And if you get one wrong, you're done. So it's 10 questions, but you may never even get to hear 7, 8, 9, 10, because if you get one wrong, you're done. C# DevOps, thank you for the mention. My background is quite a bit of fun. Here we can give you a fuller view of that. It's crazy here. We got all sorts of things going on. I've got a counter here that keeps track of all sorts of things. This thing's going to go crazy with new Twitch followers. There's Twitch following right there. All sorts of Funko Pops and LEDs. I've got a whole Alexa library here behind me. So thank you guys for being here. This is nuts. Nuts. Our Microsoft is here. C# Fritz with the OHIO. I have no hoarding. This is a well-organized pile of garbage. Thank you, Robert Tables. I have a collecting problem, that's for sure. There's two things in my life primarily that I collect. The first is these guys. And I mean, I've seen, like, I'm in the collection circles of these things. There are many people collecting far more extremely than I am. They just have them stacked up on their walls. It's crazy. They have thousands and thousands of them. I have not yet gotten to, well, maybe I got to 400, but I haven't gotten to 500 for sure. And they're all over this room. In fact, I have another camera angle I can show you. If we do office cam, look at that office cam. You can see the whole room. So there's this whole row here above me. And if you can kind of see, it's kind of dark, but like all the way along the top of the bookshelf there, there's more. Yeah, this room's crazy. So here you are, office cam. Who knew that even existed, right? But here we are. You can see I'm standing in the bright corner of the whole office. Let's go back to the camera. So that's what's going on. C# Fritz collects hats. I got to get him an Alexa hat. I got to send him something. We'll get Alexa on his head one of these days. Somebody asked, I think it was Startup, was asking about what the device is. This is this little device right here that has the calendar and time on it right now, but shows basically a lot of my social stuff. This is a device called the Lemetric Time. Here, in fact, I'll get you a link to it. It's a cool little device. It's not affordable, but it is cool. So I guess it has that going for it. I'll copy. No, that's not what I want. I want this one. And I want to get the link for you. Come on. Copy that, and then we'll drop it into the chat here. So that is a link to that specific product. And as I said, it's not cheap. It is $199. But it has an app ecosystem. And so you can build your own stuff for it. You can add all sorts of cool things to it. They have hundreds and hundreds of plugins already built. So you just configure it for your Twitch account, and then it knows how many followers, how many viewers, all that kind of stuff are available on your channel. So that's that. So anyway, we're building a trivia game. I'm trying to stay focused on that. How do people clean off the dust? There is no dust in this house, Dukesoft. No dust. We keep all the dust out of this room. Actually, once in a while, I come through and just kind of blow it off. But that's that. Yeah, thank you for the cheer, Aries Zeros. Man, you guys are the best. The Twitch community, the development community here on Twitch is small, but passionate and excited and supportive. And it makes me feel great to have a tiny, tiny piece of that here. I'm really glad that you guys are there. Any air curtains? No air curtains, nothing like that. This is just a pretty, you saw the office cam. It's a pretty standard room, right? I've got some blinds here next to me. Got a little shade, but no, it's a pretty standard room. There's nothing terribly fancy about how this all works. But the Science and Technology group, I agree, it's fantastic. All right, back to trivia. We are working on, right now, we have a database of questions that looks like this, right? I have all these questions. These are all questions that I've written and put in here to make sure that we can ask questions of the user. We have our answers in there. We have all sorts of statistics that we added last week for like how often a question has been asked, how often it was answered correctly. So this is the stuff that we have. And what we just built earlier in this session was an interaction model so that I can say, like, give me number 429. If you'll notice in the data, each question has its own unique integer identifier. And so we can just say, give me question 81. Let's see, what question 81 is a type of men's hat. So Samo Thang, thank you for the follow. So we could say here, give me number. What number did we say that one was? The answer to the question is Fez, but I don't remember what the question number was. It's 81. 81. Should be a question about hat.
What type of men's hat is named after a city in Morocco?
So there we go. So now we have what type of men's hat is named after a city in Morocco. And so you can see I'm actually being able to pull individual questions out. Now, the users of this app will not be able to do this. This will not be a function that is in production. But it's really useful for me as I'm going forward to be able to test questions and hear how they sound and make sure that the visuals look proper. Because you can see that I also have images stored here. I'm using those images when the question is answered so that I can show the user what the right answer is. Oftentimes, a picture is a really, really good way to be able to visualize to the user what the right answer was. So we have an answer image for each question. We have synonyms. We also have these answer notes. So like this question is, how many stripes are on the original United States flag? There were 13 stripes on the original flag, just as there are today. It's kind of a trick question, but some people get caught up with that because they start to question themselves. How many stripes would there have been? The stars have changed, but certainly not the stripes. So anyway, there's lots of that kind of fun question and answer nonsense. And so we can come into the game and just say, give me a sports question, and it'll randomly pick one for me. And now we get sound effects and all sorts of stuff. Maybe today.
Here is a question from the sports and games category. The properties in the board game, Monopoly, are named after locations in or near what U.S. city?
So you can see we get a little music. This is 15 seconds of wait music while you think about your answer. What could it be? Monopoly board game locations are named after what U.S. city? Does anybody know the answer?
Okay. What is your answer?
I mean, it's technically on the screen, so I guess you could know the answer. But the answer is Atlantic City. So if I say Atlantic City, it's being a little slow today.
Bummer.
What?
That answer is not correct.
What did you hear me say?
What would you like to do now?
Did I type it wrong? I said Atlantic City, and it thought that was wrong. Well, that's very curious. That's not how this is supposed to work at all. I wonder why I thought that was wrong. No, it can't be casing because it's not matching. It's matching on sound. So Alexa does this behind the scenes, but it should treat Atlantic City as the right answer, especially because we passed in, I'd have to go back a version, but we passed in a very specific question. That's very interesting. It says wrong because that's the name of my slot. So I told it here, this is the name of my slot. So if you don't say the right thing, then I have a slot called wrong that captures what you said, so I can store it to my database. And so what I just did here, if we look at question instance, is that I recorded what question it was, who the user was, what they said that they got the question wrong, and when, some modified times and dates for that question. So it heard Atlantic City. And if I go look at this question, which I can just tap on here, we can see that I have it as Atlantic City, New Jersey. So I need, that's just a data problem. Atlantic City. That's the right answer. But Atlantic City, New Jersey should also be the right answer. So I think I just fixed it. So the good news is I haven't finished building this yet. We're still really early in the construction phase. So I haven't told the system to forget the question yet. I still have in my session variables somewhere in here, I have current question ID is this. So it still thinks we're in the middle of asking a question. So I should now be able to say Atlantic City, and it should say I'm right. I think. No,
Whoopsie-daisy.
because I'm not inserting that into the...
That answer is not correct.
Okay,
What should we do this
so
time?
there's a reason for this, and this is basically just that I haven't finished building. It's not so much that it's an issue with the system. But the problem that I have right now is that when I ask the question, that only happens once, I take all of the synonyms for the possible answer and I feed them into a system called dynamic entities. But because I didn't do that when I asked this question, that value Atlantic City on its own doesn't exist. But if I'm here, let's do this. If I do Atlantic City, New Jersey, this should work, because this was fed in. Huh.
Yikes! That answer is not correct. What should we do this time?
Well, now I'm a little more perplexed. Let's go back. Give me a science question.
Here is a question from the science category. What star is sometimes known as the dog star?
So this is Sirius, and you can see that over here, these are the values using dynamic entities that I'm playing with. So you can see here that I have the value Sirius, but in case it doesn't pick up the sound right or somebody mispronounces this, If they just say serious,
Okay.
they will get the right
What
answer.
is your answer?
So we're going to type in serious. This should be correct. There we go.
Hurrah! That is the correct answer. You can say something like, give me a science question, or you can start today's game. What
All right.
will it be?
So we're back to working. The issue that I had with that New Jersey one, and this is where the testing becomes really very important for a lot of these questions, is making sure that as I go through my question database, that I've actually got synonyms for these things. So here's a good example. What musical begins with the lyric, chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim cheree, right? The musical is certainly called Mary Poppins. So I don't know that I need any other synonyms, but can you guys think of any examples where someone could give a correct answer that isn't only the words Mary Poppins? What about like, here, let's see if they have a different name for this. So if we say Mary Poppins musical, like what do they put on the playbill and stuff? So Mary Poppins musical, that's great. I don't see any. This might be one that we don't really have that, but if you look at like posters and stuff, sometimes they'll have like Disney's Mary Poppins, right? Or Disney's The Lion King and stuff like that. And so you could technically add a synonym that is Disney's Mary Poppins. And then if someone were to say Disney's Mary Poppins, this one or this one will work. Either of those are acceptable answers for what we're trying to do. So it's important to think about what are the things that people might say that is still considered a correct answer and make those my synonyms. For example, what is the better known name of the Antoinette Perry Award for Excellence in Broadway Theater? Well, that's called the Tony Award. But somebody might just say Tony or a Tony Award or anything like that. And we don't need to get too pedantic with all the little add-on words like and the and an. But we do want to make sure that we're covering Tony and Tony Award because those sound different. So those are all examples of where we want to make sure that we're having a good amount of synonyms as we go through some of these. And for some of them, I don't. Like, what color are Mickey Mouse's shoes? The answer is yellow. Like, there isn't really another right answer other than yellow for English, right? This changes when we start talking about other languages, and we have ways to handle that. You can see that each one of my questions is labeled with a locale. And so for each of these locales, this is the English US version of this question. If I want to write a Japanese version of this question, obviously they're not going to answer with the word yellow. We would build a separate version of this question that's only for Japanese. And the question would be asked in Japanese and the answer would be written in Japanese. And then we would match against those instead. So that is how this works across languages. But at least for English in the United States, this is how we think about this. Which of Snow White's dwarves is alphabetically in the middle? I think this is kind of a fun question. It's like a two-stage. The answer is Grumpy. There isn't another answer, right? There can't be any. His name is Grumpy. That's it. So there can't be another synonym. We don't need anything in this box. But for things like the Globe Theater, what is the name of William Shakespeare's famously rebuilt theater? It's called the Globe. But people also call it Globe Theater, the Globe Theater, or just the word Globe, because people might just say the word Globe. We want all of those to be correct, too. They clearly know what the right answer is. Startup says, is synonym a more specific usage name? I don't think it's more specific. I think the way that I'm using this, my voice answer column is the answer that I want to show on the screen. So after they answer the question, I'm going to show them the answer and say yes. And I want that to be a very nice, formatted, clean-looking version of the answer. But it's very unlikely that the user is going to give a very nice, clean, perfect version of the answer. They're going to say something like Globe Theater, not the Globe. And so in those cases, I want to be able to make sure those are right also. So when I compare what you said to whether or not you got the question right or wrong, what I'm actually doing is using voice answer and answer synonyms as my list of possible right answers. And as long as your answer matches those, then it works just fine. So colloquial name is one way to think about it, but it's just a different way to say it. There can be lots and lots of versions of this. Here's a good example. What ear did Vincent van Gogh cut? Well, he cut his left ear. And so the answer is left. but they might say his left or the left. They might also say his left ear, right? It doesn't hurt me to have more synonyms as long as it doesn't expand it to be collecting wrong answers. But that's how the combination of answers and synonyms works for me. When we look at how this actually happens, you can, let me ask another question. Give me a science question. We'll mute this tab. So you can see that what I'm doing here is I'm telling the Alexa engine, hey, I'm asking them a question. I expect that their next answer is going to be the word Beetlejuice. Now, this is the name of the star, not the name of the movie or the actor or the character. But there's nothing wrong with including those kinds of spellings as well. And I might even add another one. So let's go find the Beetlejuice question. There it is. We could also have something like that. Each one of these, I just comma separate these. That's how I use them. But by having this collection of synonyms and real names, it's a way for us to audibly compare what these are said to what we're expecting. And if the engine behind the scenes matches them for me, then it thinks they're right. That's the real key to all of this, though, is that all I can do is hope that I've come up with enough synonyms to cover the kinds of things that users say. Here's another tricky one. What two men are currently on U.S. Paper currency who were never president? The answer is Alexander Hamilton and Benjamin Franklin. There are so many ways to say this. Does Hamilton come first and Franklin come second? Does Franklin come first and Hamilton come second? So you can see I have a ton of synonyms for this. I have things like Hamilton. Here, let's see if we can change this to no, I don't want to change. I'll just show you. So we have Hamilton and Franklin. We have, I'll scroll through this. We have Franklin and Hamilton. We have Ben Franklin and Alexander Hamilton. We have Alexander Hamilton and Ben Franklin. We have Benjamin Franklin and Alexander Hamilton and Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin and Hamilton. Hamilton and Ben Franklin. Franklin and Alexander Hamilton. Like, there's so many different ways you could say this. And so I'm trying to cover off on a lot of those cases. I'm not trying to cover all of them, but this gives a lot of training data to Alexa to say, I'm looking for answers that sound like these. And so even though I haven't covered all of the examples, I've covered enough of them that I feel confident that if the user says the right answer, they'll get it. And if they say the wrong answer, they probably won't. So that's kind of that. And I even have a nice little picture for this, right? Those are the two guys that are on our currency that were not presidents. Anyway, that's how all this works. So we're at 11:24. I want to thank all 44 of you that are still here for being here. And we're gonna have to put a bow on this because I have to go over to the Alexa channel at noon Eastern, which is in 35 minutes. And I have to do Alexa office hours. So not have to do, I love to do, but I'm going to be doing Alexa office hours at noon on the Amazon Alexa channel. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. Don't forget, click that follow button if you want to be back here. We're here every day from 10 to noon. And sometimes we're even here on like the weekends and stuff. You never know what you're going to find, but I tend to be here every business work day. I was not here yesterday, obviously. We had the day off, but I am here most every day. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Let's go find someone to raid. And we are going to pick Mike Hardington is streaming. He has one person watching him right now, and that is a shame. So we're going to go over and see what Mike is working on right now. We're going to start our raid. I'll send all of you guys over there. Make sure to say hi to Mike. He's often on the C# Fritz channel as well. So if you came to join us from there, C# Fritz has a fantastic audience, and Mike is one of those people. But I know Mike from Twitter and a bunch of other places. So let's go over and see what Mike's doing. Thank you guys all so much. I'll be back here again in about 24 hours, 23 hours. So thank you all again. It's been fantastic.